everyone, welcome to our lesson on algebraic expressions. Algebraic expressions are those things that are going to have numbers and variables that represent real situations, real world scenarios. So let's take a look. As you're working through these, you're going to want to look out for words that represent certain symbols to help you create these expressions. So you look for those key words in your problems and you just want to underline or circle or highlight so that will help you when you're creating the expression. Got an example down here. Julie works at the movie theater and she earns $20 a week in addition to $5 per hour that she works. So as you're reading through this problem, what I would do is I would go through and definitely any numbers that they give you, underline that. $20 a week, that's sort of the same thing as saying per, so you want to watch out for that. In addition to, here's another number, $5 per hour. All right, and I believe that's it for this one. So when we're creating the expression that represents this scenario, we know that Julie's going to get $20. And remember our in addition to, that's going to be added to $5 per, that's going to be multiplication operation, every hour that she works. So we want to put a variable there because we don't know how many hours she's going to work in any given week. So 20 plus 5x should represent the expression for Julie's pay. All right, and so as you're going through, perhaps you've created a couple of these and then they're going to ask you to add them together or subtract them. You're going to want to look out for like terms, and like terms are numbers that have the same variables with the same powers, okay, or just our regular numbers without any variables. So let's say that Julie has a manager named John at her business, and John's pay is a little bit more because he's a manager. So let's say, we created Julie's expression for her pay. It was $20 plus $5 per hour. Let's say that John makes $20 and then $7 for every hour he works. So his would be a little bit different. It'd be plus 7x instead. And x is where we're going to put in our amount of hours. So how much would this movie theater pay both Julie and John for 8 hours worked in the week? So just an 8-hour week. Maybe a couple hours a day or something. What we would do is, we heard that word both. So we are going to put both of these together and say, well, the theater is going to pay Julie's expression for pay, 20 plus 5x, plus John's, 20 plus 7x. And they each worked 8 hours. So we will put that in for our variable x and we'll find out. So that's going to be 20 plus 5 times substitute in our 8. Okay. And then 20 plus, do the same thing over here for John's. Substituting in your 8. You're just going to simplify this, follow the order of operations, and find out the amount. So this would be 20 plus 40 over here in this group. We've got 20 plus 56 in this group. So that gives us 60 for her, 76 for him, total of 136 that the theater is going to pay out. And so that kind of simplified it for us, knowing the expression for their pay. It just gave us something to plug in to make it a little bit easier to determine the total amount. And we got it all organized. All right, so some other things you may be doing once you've created your algebraic expressions are multiplying them, maybe distributing a coefficient out front to each item in your group, or even factoring. That would be going backwards sort of from distributing. Factoring is dividing out common factors. So suppose Julie is asking for 4 days vacation next week. She only wants to work 1 day. And so that means she's going to work 1 out of the 5 days that she would normally work. So to write that out in an expression, if we're still using that same expression, her pay is going to be 1/5 of what it normally is. So we would put in either 1/5 out front or 0.2, 20%, which is the equivalent of 1/5, times the same expression. And so for x, we would put her normal weekly hours worked. And that would give us the amount, the 1/5 would give us the amount that she would be making that week once we multiplied. All right. We're going to look at some examples of factoring. To simplify, you can look for common factors in these. If you need to find those common factors, you're looking for things that you can divide both or all terms by evenly. So in this first expression, I see that they share a common factor of 5. And you can look for numbers or variables. In this case, they don't share any variables, but I can pull out that 5 by division. And when I see what's left, I'm dividing this. So 5x divided by 5 is going to be x. Keep the same symbol in between because it's positive 15. Divide that by 5 and I've got 3. So there's a factored expression for this number 1. Same thing here, just scan across number 2. What do they share? What do they have in common as far as factors goes? We can see that 16 and 4 are both divisible by 4. So in this case, we could pull out a 4 by division. We're left with x minus 4 this time because 16 divided by 4 is 4. And he was a negative. If you want to check, make sure your expression is correct, that you factored correctly as you're working through these, you can always go back through and you can distribute and make sure that you get the original expression. 4 times x minus 4 times 4. And we do, so that's good. We factored correctly. So this concludes our lesson on algebraic expressions.